Hello, friends, and welcome to lesson 7 of Unit 2, which is the last lesson. We are going to talk about ecological environment. And this is one of the burning issues today, and all countries are hard pressed to work on environment. So, under the ecological environment, the learning objectives for today's lesson are: we need to understand what is an ecosystem, what is global warming, what is carbon footprint, how we can adopt green management, and we will also talk about Environment Protection Act 1986. Let us start with what is an ecosystem. When we talk about ecosystem today, what we are facing, the biggest pandemic of the century, which is COVID 19, because we try to play with the ecosystem where communities or group of living organisms they live and they interact with each other in a very stable and specific environment. And if you disturb that environment, then the ecological imbalance happens and all the living organisms suffer as we are suffering in this COVID 19. So, if you look at this picture, so every part has a role to play, and until unless we give space to each community to live and go through their own living mechanism in their specific environment, there will not be any problem. Now, in the ecosystem, one of the things which we would like to talk about is global warming. And you all must be aware of, because of global warming, there are a lot of things happening throughout the globe. But in order to understand global warming, we need to understand the greenhouse effect. This you might have studied in your schools, that there is sunlight which is falling on Earth, and some of that sunlight is reflected back. And some of the sunlight is the heat which is taken by CO2 and other gases in the atmosphere, which is outside the Earth's surface. So some of the sunlight is reflected back, and some of the heat, the sunlight, is absorbed by the gases which is outside our surface, the Earth's surface. What happens is during the day the sun keeps the Earth warm, but in the night when the sun is not there, at that point of time these gases in the atmosphere they keep the Earth warm. But when these gases like CO2, the quantity of CO2 becomes more and more, so that entrapped heat goes up, and that is what we call as the global warming. Now there are around 8 indicators, right, which tell us that our planet is warming fast because of the greenhouse effect. What are these indicators? As you can see in this diagram, so what is happening is the sea ice is melting fast. The sea surface temperature is rising. The temperature over the oceans is rising. As a result, the humidity is going up. The air temperature near the surface, as we were talking, the troposphere, that is going up. Glaciers are melting fast. Snow cover is reducing, and temperature over land is going up. As you might have seen, this summer was very severe because of high humidity and high temperatures. So as a result, what is happening? There is a changing rain and snow patterns, and there is a change in the animal migration and life cycles. As a result of higher temperatures, the heat waves are becoming more aggressive. So more wildfires, as you are reading in Australia, the bushfires, right? Because of the heat, because the bushes go dry, and there is no rain, so that is a problem. Less snow and ice, so thawing, the permafrost, changes in the plant life cycles, so the oceans are becoming warmer, the sea level is rising, and they predict even Mumbai is going to be underwater because of the rising sea level and the damaged corals. So this is happening, this is already happening. So this is what we call as the global warming, the effect of greenhouse effect, because the reason is because of the carbon footprint, because we are releasing a lot of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So what is a carbon footprint? That is the quantum, that is the measurement tool through which we know that how much damage we are doing to our planet Earth. So carbon footprint is nothing but the amount of carbon dioxide in tons which is released in the atmosphere because of the activities of an individual, organization, or community. So the carbon footprint can be because of water pollution, because of generation of electricity, because of the car emissions, because of the waste, because of the recycling, because of the gases, because of any of the reasons at our personal level, or because of the fossil fuels. So we can record what is the carbon footprint that we are leaving. Now, in order to reduce the carbon footprint, what the organizations are doing, they are adopting green management. So, green management is very important as our planet is precious resource for all of us, and managing this resource is our responsibility. So, when we talk about green management, so it can be in terms of the waste management, water management, energy management, management of any of the hazardous materials, air emission, like we are talking dangerous material is the medical waste, like in COVID, we are finding through the hospitals a lot of dangerous materials which are becoming the hazardous waste. So how to manage that and make our planet more green, air emission regulation system, and other environmental designs which we can innovate to make our planet more clean. And that is what is make everything green. Now, we can adopt in our lives as individuals, but for the companies, these are the 10 steps to become green. We call them as green steps. First is to assess our current position, then set some goals, and then whenever we talked about in the last lesson consumerism, that is what earn more, spend more, consume more. So here we are talking think twice before you buy, make recycling easy, watch your power use, switch energy suppliers. Uh, that means from the conventional fossil fuel power generation, you can switch to cleaner technologies, and also the suppliers who are supplying you as a enlightened consumer. We talked about that in lesson 6. Plant more trees, cut down on car journeys and air journeys, use technology as you are doing now in the COVID situation, and review your suppliers from time to time. So these are 10 simple steps to become more green. Now, in order to stop the environmental pollution, uh, In India, we had Environment Protection Act, which came in 1986. What was happening beforehand? There were different agencies who were trying to protect the environment, maybe air pollution, water pollution. These were different bodies. They were acting independently and they were trying to implement their policies, maybe at the district level, maybe at the state level, or maybe at the central level. But there was no integration. Sometimes we call Environment Protection Act also as Umbrella Act because it was able to integrate all the independent agencies who were trying to work on environment. The basic objectives of EPA 1986 are: number one, to protect forest and wildlife in the country, improve the quality of life by protection of environment so that we can breathe fresh air, we can drink the purified water. So protection of environment so that the quality of life can be improved. To coordinate the activities, as I said, of various regulatory agencies which are already in existence. To appoint environment officers to check environmental pollution. Like in Punjab, you have Punjab Pollution Control Board. At the center, it is Central Pollution Control Board. So they were set up and they were environmental officers who were working round the clock to implement the policies of the Act, and establishing environmental laboratories to check and also to advocate cleaner technologies. Now, one of the things which is happening, which is a very recent trend, is that that is circular economy. Let me explain in a very simple layman's language. In manufacturing, we talk about we use linear economy. We have the raw material, we produce, we use, and then we have a waste which we cannot cycle. And then we, through the Environment Protection Act, and also when the government was really hard pressed on some of the polluting industries, so we adopted a reuse economy where we use the raw material, we produce, and then we recycle what can be recycled, and then we have the waste which we cannot recycle. So today we talk about the circular economy, where it's not linear or reuse economy. It has to be a circle. That means everything has to be part of that, and there should not be anything which is going out of this. So you manufacture, you consume and use, you recycle. So any product that you make, once the consumer stops using it, you use that particular material, right, which you have used to make that product, recycle and use it again. So we keep on doing that. Only where required, we'll use more resources, and we'll try to reduce the waste and try to make it zero over a period of time. To give you a simple example, what is happening is, since we are talking of the economy, and which is circular economy, it is not just the environment, it is economy here we are talking. To give you a simple example, I purchase a washing machine or you purchase a washing machine. So once you purchase the washing machine, you are the owner. So you have the ownership of the washing machine from now on. If it stops working, any repair work, or maybe you want to dispose of and you want to buy a new one, as an owner, you have to dispose of. So you have to think of everything now, even recycling or selling it off or throwing it away or just going somewhere and giving it to someone else. But think of circular economy in that what it is. There is a company and it is not going to sell the washing machine to you, but it will lease the washing machine to you. The ownership will lie with the company, and that is what we are talking about, the circular economy. That means if it is not performing well, it is drawing more electricity. So the company will come and see what is the optimal consumption, what all things, what repair it requires. So it has stopped working again. So you are paying a lease amount or maybe one-time payment, but the ownership lies with the company. And when you say, okay, I want to replace it, they'll come and take it back and then recycle it and use that again in manufacturing a new washing machine. Because if you look at the number of cars which are out of operation, where what you are doing, you are dumping, even you are making heaps of used cars, or you are just excavating the earth, digging and putting that and burying it. So electronic waste. So now this is why we are talking here of circular economy, where the ownership lies with the company and the company has to do everything, as you can see in this diagram. So inside it will remain with the company, so throughout. So that is what is circular economy. Let's talk about what it means to be green. Now, in our daily lives as consumers or as business houses. So when we talk about green management or becoming green, so we should be aware of how our behavior, working practices, or production methods can impact the environment, and what changes we can make to reduce the footprint, the carbon footprint. So that is what enlightened consumer has to do. As a citizen of this planet, we need to do. So we talk about banning plastics. So you can see that what harm it has caused to the marine life, it has caused to the cows, it is still causing, and what all things we need to think and do. So awareness is the first step, and then looking at what impact it is making and how we can reduce that impact. So that is what it is. So we today talk about green process, which is the environmental friendly manufacturing, green products, the products that we use, environment friendly products, and green life, the life that we live should be environmental friendly. Now China has taken a big step, because China, as you know, has been the world factory, manufacturing hub of the world. But now by 2030 they are on a mission, and they want zero emissions by 2030. Let us look at a video and then you will understand what I mean to say. So this video is how China is creating the green life. Let's have a look.
Friedrich Engels wrote, "Let us not get too intoxicated with a victory over nature. For each such victory, nature will take her revenge on us." Industrialization in the West and rapid development in China have brought severe punishment down on humanity. As the contradictions between economic growth and environmental protection have intensified, China has faced a test of her resolve, courage, and sense of responsibility.
不以牺牲生态环境为代价换取经济的一时发展。我们提出来就是，既要金山银山，又要绿水青山，宁可要绿水青山，不要金山银山，因为绿水青山就是金山银山。
Across China, the number of wetland nature reserves has grown from 553 5 years ago to 602 today. Under a national system of wetland protection, 85% of wildlife and 65% of higher flora communities have received effective protection. China has invested over 110 billion yuan in restoring her marine ecology in the past 5 years. In tackling desertification, by reducing the area of deserts by nearly 2,000 square kilometers on average a year, China has already achieved the goal set by the UN of zero desert growth by 2030.
保护环境就是保护生产力，改善环境就是发展生产力。 这个朴素的道理正得到越来越多的人们的认同。
In 2013, China declared war on pollution. In both the Yangtze and Pearl River deltas, levels of harmful PM2.5 particles have been reduced by over 30%. In the fight against pollution, in 2016 alone, China reduced steel production capacity by 65 million tons and coal output capacity by 290 million tons. China is now the world leader in energy conservation and new energy usage. Everyone in China wants to play a major role in creating a new green life. Tree planting is conducted as a nationwide campaign. 30 million hectares of new forests have been planted in the course of the past 5 years. China's total area of newly planted forests, at nearly 70 million hectares, is the largest in the world.
建立绿色国家，人们都应该生活在绿荫之中，这些是我们努力的方向。一年接着一年干，一代接着一代干，撸起袖子加油干！
For the country's children and grandchildren, and for their children and grandchildren, China promises magnificent mountains and rivers.
我希望全中国都能够蓝天常在，青山常在，绿水常在，让孩子们都生活在良好的生态环境之中，这也是中国梦中很重要的内容。
By working together to green their home, her people are creating this amazing China.
So friends, you have seen that how China has declared a war on making their country emission free by 2030. So I think as citizen of our country, we can also contribute and think about the carbon footprint. So that is all from my side for this lesson. And let me summarize the things for you, what we discussed today. We talked about ecosystem. We tried to understand global warming. We also talked about carbon footprint. And then we saw green management and circular economy, which are the new things which the business houses are adopting. And then we talked about Environment Protection Act 1986. And then we saw a video about how China has declared war to protect the country and the planet from the global warming. Here is a small quiz. Question number 1. Carbon footprint unit, the unit which we use to record the carbon footprint is. Second is why EPA 1986, the Environment Protection Act, is known as Umbrella Act. And number 3, trapping of heat in Earth's atmosphere is known as. So here are the answers, and you can tally those if you have written. So carbon footprint unit is tons of carbon dioxide. EPA 1986 is known as Umbrella Act because it tried to integrate all the isolated and independent environmental agencies of our country. Trapping of heat in Earth's atmosphere is known as greenhouse effect. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to write to me. I would recommend this for further reading, which is on the circular economy, if you would like to know more about that, because that is the in thing in the business of today's world. So we have finished Unit 2, and Unit 1 and Unit 2 would be what we are going to ask you in your mid-semester test, which is coming soon. So let me just summarize the Unit 2 for you. We had 7 lessons. We talked about legal environment, competition law, and right to information. We talked about public sector, joint and cooperative sector. Then he discussed deficit financing and budget analysis. And in the last lesson, we talked about consumerism. And today we talked about ecological environment. So what I request you to do is match the columns. So what are the takeaways for these 7 lessons? These are written on the right hand side, but they are not matching as per the lessons, like lesson 1, legal environment. So it may not be carbon footprint. So please match the takeaways as per the lessons on the left. I give you some time, you can note down. Please match the columns and then we'll share the answers with you. Hopefully, my friends, you have matched the columns. If you have done so, please tally the answers. Here is what you have in Unit 2 takeaways. So, legal environment was Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA, Competition Law and RTI, MRTP Act, Public Sector, Social Consensus. So, in terms of equality, joint and cooperative sector, the public-private partnership model, and deficit financing, borrowing and currency printing to fulfill and to just take the deficit away. Consumerism, Jago Grahak Jago, and that is what the website is. Ecological environment is the carbon footprint. So thank you very much and all the best for your mid-semester test. And I take leave and we'll start with Unit 3, Lesson 1 in the next class. Bye for now. Shabba khair.